2:01, but the mayor just got here, so there he is. Let's give the mayor a nice hand. Okay, now we can start. Well, I'd like to welcome everybody for coming to the 139th annual meeting of the Henry County Historical Society. Dave's been to every one of them. Let's start the meeting, please, by rising and facing the American flag over by General Bruce there. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Okay, at this time, before we start the program, Kaye Ford is our curator, and she will be leaving us soon. And I hate that. She's done a great job for the Henry County Historical Society. And when you get into genealogy, there are none better. She found something for me about 10 years ago that nobody could find. And I won't share that until 2 more years. I'll tell you what she found. But anyway, Kaye has done a great job. She does wonderful tours. She knows a lot about the history of this building, the history of the county, genealogy, and she's been an asset to our society, and I appreciate, Kaye, the work you do. Let's give Kaye a nice hand for this. Okay, also at this time, I'd like to recognize the board members that are here for the Henry County Historical Society Board of Trustees. And we have Kathy Rogers right there in the back. Sheila Marianne is over somewhere. Ricky Cotman is probably outside too, but Liz Johnson's here. So they do a great job. Appreciate the work they do. Okay, now at this time, I'll let Kaye come up, and we're going to do the reading of the proclamation for the America250. And Kaye, if you'd like to take over.
We are celebrating America250 in Henry County with a proclamation by our Mayor, Greg York. We thank you for being here.
Sure.
We have, you can come on up, that is fine. We have split the proclamation into 4 parts.
Okay.
Mr. Bill Ward is going to start us off. You can come on up.
It's all 4-part harmony?
Yes.
Are we sorry about that?
And then Ms. Ruth Rinehart will go second, I'll go third, and the mayor will bring it home.
Okay.
Okay, Bill, you can start whenever you're ready.
Thank you very much. Whereas July 4th, 2026 marks the 250th anniversary of the signing of the Declaration of Independence and the founding of the United States of America. Whereas the America250 initiative serves as a national invitation to all Americans to reflect on our past, celebrate our present, and look forward to the future of forming a more perfect union.
Whereas Henry County, Indiana has played a vital role in the American story, from the early pioneers and patriots who settled these lands to the diverse community that thrives here today. And
whereas this Semiquincentennial provides an opportunity to honor the brave individuals, including the Revolutionary War soldiers buried within our soil, who sacrificed their lives and fortunes to secure the blessings of liberty for their descendants. And
whereas on July 4th, 2026, United States of America will celebrate the Semiquincentennial 250th anniversary and signing the Declaration of Independence. Now, therefore, I, Greg York, as Mayor of Newcastle, Indiana, the county seat of Henry County, do advise and hereby vest in me that the proclamation claimed today, of April 26, 2026, as officially launched of the American celebration of Henry County.
All right.
Thank you very much, Mayor York, we appreciate, oh, and if you don't mind signing.
Just I haven't signed it yet.
There's an official one, and this will be framed at the Historical Society. Bill Ward, volunteers for the Henry County Veterans Museum, and Ruth Rinehart is the regent of the local DAR chapter. I'm also part of the DAR chapter and part of the society, and of course, Mayor York is here to proclaim this to the land. Thank you so much.
Thank you,
and
guys.
thank you all for coming.
I'll let you.
Cell phone. Okay, Dr. Whiteman should be right there, and he should be right here, right now, speaking to you, but until he comes, if he comes, and we assume he will come, we're gonna skip to the election. And before we start, just a quick little bit of information. The Henry County Historical Society is the oldest continuously operating historical society in the state of Indiana. That's quite a distinction. Its mission is to educate both young and old us about the rich history of our county by stimulating community involvement, fundraising, and the collaboration of like-minded organizations through programming, special events, meaningful and storied exhibits, and diversified long-range planning. This afternoon, we conduct the election of 4 trustees and a county funds treasurer. Candidates must be a Henry County Historical Society member in good standing, whatever that means, attend monthly board meetings, and actively participate in meetings and programs. Now, Lana Enlow, back there, is the chairperson of the nominating committee and will now place the persons it has selected in nomination for the position of trustee. And there are 4 positions.
Mr. Vice President, we have nominated the following members for the Board of Trustees: Kevin Stonerock, Kathy Rogers, Tom Saunders, and Marianne Garrard.
Thank you. Now, according to Robert's Rule of Order, nominations are now open for trustee. Are there any nominations to be made from the floor? That nomination would have the same status as those submitted by the committee. Everybody's quiet. Hearing none, is there a motion to move that the nominations be closed?
I make a motion to move the nominations be closed.
And is there a second to
I'll
this
second.
motion? And second, Don, thank you. Okay, so there's been a motion to move and second. We will now ask for your vote. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, say nay. Okay. All right, that's part 1 of the election. Now we go to the county funds treasurer, and again, I'll ask Lana Enlow to let us know who is on the slate for that position.
Mr. Vice President, we have nominated for County Funds Treasurer JoAnn Edwards.
And she is currently the county funds treasurer. Are there any other nominations to be made from the floor for this position? Hearing none, is there a motion to close nominations?
I make a motion to close nominations.
You're hot. Is there a second to that motion?
Second.
Don, okay. we will now ask for the vote. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, leave the room. No. Those opposed, nay. Okay. So we have our 4 trustees. 2 are currently in that position. Marianne will be a new member, and Tom Saunders, who is out of town right now, will be our other new member to the Board of Trustees. We look forward to working with Marianne and Tom. They'll both contribute greatly. And Dr. Whiteman is in the building. Boy, that is perfect timing. Kay, would you like to introduce our speaker?
All right. Thank you. Y'all set up.
It's under ISC one there.
ISC, okay. Thanks, Tom. Let's see, while Dr. Whiteman gets set up, I will, share, some of the activities we have planned for 2026 to celebrate America250 in Henry County.
Pass those down.
We will have a Revolutionary Trivia Night to be determined. Nate Lamar is planning a countywide flag relay on 4th of July, all through Henry County's 13 townships. And they will be having an organizational meeting in June. There is a Henry County America250 Facebook page that you can follow, and I'll post information about these activities. Of course, the 4th of July celebration at Memorial Park. This 4th of July falls on Friday, so it's going to be a long weekend. And then we are having the second Revolutionary Whodunit, Find the Fox, on Thursday, September 17th, which happens to be Constitution Day. This is hosted here in the lovely museum by the Winston Henry DAR chapter that Ruth and I are a part of. We did it last year, and it was just so much fun. So we're looking forward to playing that again. It's set in the Revolutionary War era, and you're trying to find the fox. He's a traitor. So it's like a murder mystery, but nobody dies.
And it's in a tavern.
It's set in the tavern.
So we'll be meeting in a tavern.
It's in a tavern.
Last year we had root beer and ginger beer.
Ginger beer.
Let me see. I don't know where ISC,
Right there, I see.
right there.
That's
The one change name.
April 26th, that one.
This one?
Yeah. And I've got a reference list.
Okay, let's see here. From the beginning. Okay, so I'll introduce Dr. Whiteman. He serves as the co-chair on the Indiana Semiquincentennial Commission with Charlotte Hurd Blair. He is also a member of the Sons of the American Revolution, the Indiana Society, the National Maritime Historical Society, and the Star Trek Fan Club. He served as president of the Indiana State Medical Association 2016 through 2017. He is married with 3 children and enjoys history, photography, fishing and boating, hiking, and travel. He retired from Ball Memorial Hospital after a successful career as an otolaryngologist. Did I get that right?
Very good.
All right. Okay. Thank you, Dr. Whiteman, and the floor is yours.
One question, Dr. Whiteman.
Oops, and I already got poured. Whoa! Go ahead.
I was just gonna ask you, were you telephoned here?
That is possible.
Okay.
Oh, no.
So now I gotta see, what does it take to boot back up?
I have returned.
If something can go wrong, so I gotta plug back in. It's just better let that reboot, I see.
Here.
I'm testing her audio-visual skills.
Oh,
All right, there we go.
I have some practice. There you go.
And thanks for inviting me. I did get a son who got an aerospace degree at Purdue, actually a master's, and so, learned about Star Trek was useful for something. And, at least because I was involved with the SAR, the gentleman who was a senator from up around northeastern Indiana, north of Fort Wayne, who wrote the actual state law for the commission, wanted to have somebody from the DER and the SAR to be the two co-chairs for the commission. And based on what was happening in the SAR, I was the next man up. And so I had the blessing of working with Charlotte Hurd Blair for the DER, and that lady's a go-getter. I try to be a go-getter, but she's pretty impressive, and so it's been a privilege to work with all the folks on the commission. I've put together some slides that are just informational, so I'll push some things that are probably too much to take in a short period of time, but I'll get on to sort of Indiana-specific things towards the end. And so I'm going to just start in, but if somebody has questions along the way, feel free to tell me to stop and raise your hand. And this is to be fairly informal, but hopefully informative. And then the magic button to make this move forward, is it supposed to do? Or is it just click on the slide? There we go. Aha! Okay. I do use PowerPoint occasionally. But, back in 2016 is when the U.S. Congress sort of passed the law to set up the National America250 Foundation Commission. And so things have been underway now for a full 10 years to try to make this happen. And it's just amazing how things have blossomed in the last roughly 6 months between what the federal government's doing and what's now taking place in the state of Indiana. And I'm going to go through these federal things, back when, there's some states that got going before COVID hit, and our state was sort of coming in March of 2022, sort of after it hit, trying to get going. So like states, Ohio and most of the original 13 colony states, all were up and running closer to 2016, some of them. But Ohio got started in 2021, and they really have decided to keep a focus. So, you can compare Indiana to a lot of different things, but I'll sort of have some different references, but you can see what all 50 states and the 6 territories are doing if you go to the right website. The amount of federal agencies that have committed, almost all of them have, part of their websites devoted to what they're trying to do to support America's 250 celebration. One of the earliest things American 250 did, which I thought was great, because, if you get anything out of this speech at all, it's about whether we somehow motivate people that are younger than us to somehow realize the unique gifts this country represents to the world, let alone to those that live here. And so you would hope inspiring young people to do something to think about our country's history is a good thing. And so that was, I think, a great choice that they made early on when they set up the national organization. This is something coming up July 4th. If you haven't heard about it, a lot of people have, but they're going to try to make sure you get red, white, and blue lights anywhere you can for the celebration. So that's officially led by the National Flag Foundation. And then this is the day after the 4th of July. They're recommending, I think this is about as like Midwestern as Midwestern gets, as much as you can hopefully at least get some family together and maybe some neighbors, extended family, and try to at least reflect upon things that are unique to your family and maybe the community you live in, and at least try to extend a neighborly hand to say this day is important and the people around me are important. But actually 250 Commission of Utah is who really got that going. And then there's a range of different things that they've come up with, so this sort of gets a little closer to the last, say, 4 months or so where they've made some decisions, but they want a nationwide reading. This was actually spearheaded by the State Commission of Hawaii to read the Declaration of Independence publicly. And so our commission is going to read it down in the Circle Center in Indianapolis, but hopefully every county has some organized plan to have a public reading on July 8th, because that's officially when the Dunlap broadside copy was released to the public and read publicly. So that's why it's 4 days after, in case anybody didn't know that already. Another interesting thing, this is the artist's design of the Join or Die original sort of caricature that Benjamin Franklin did. I think it was like 1754, but that's where they're gonna place the 250th time capsule. So this is a capsule on America's 250th birthday that's gonna be buried for 250 years. So a long, long time. And I've got another picture coming up here, but each state commission and territory is asked to contribute at least one page on archival paper. So that sort of 2025 annual report I passed around, we put all 6 pages on one side of one archival sheet of paper, and have sent that into the national. So we'll be in this little time capsule, which again, if I hit the button right, there we go. So you can see how they plan to set this up. So somebody's really done some engineering. And so it's going to be placed in the Independence Natural Historical Park by that new architect design Serpentine.
Where's the
Join or
park?
die.
Where's that park at?
Yeah, that's downtown Philadelphia.
Downtown where?
Philadelphia.
Philadelphia.
Yeah. So the thing was originally signed, our Declaration of Independence. So, and I know at least unless science advances much more quickly, I won't be here to get back open. But again, that's hopefully inspiring some of our youth to think ahead. And maybe their great-grandchildren will have the opportunity. So, in terms of just different things that have come about, new presidential administration got in power. They really took what was coming up during 2025 pretty seriously. And so they've set up a whole new website, freedom250.org. And so I think my subsequent slides are covering some of that. And there'll be a quiz on where these things are located in the 4 corners at the end of this presentation. And this is something I didn't know till yesterday when I was adding some new slides to this, but they actually have a playbook that was put together to try to inform people. And somewhere I've got on I got it as a PDF file on my flash drive that I can give to you with all the different websites. So at least there should be a handout available so you can go back and you can copy off the slides. So if there's anything I'm presenting that you can't remember, you should have a copy available. And then this is just some of the stuff that's in this guide that they've put together. And so they're really trying to, stimulate, getting the young people involved, highlighting local history and heroes. So it's like a 50-page book. And this is, their big Great American State Fair. I think at first they were saying they were going to plan this at the Iowa State Fair. And so the discussion was taking place as I understood it. But now they're going to have along the National Mall between the I think the Lincoln Memorial and the U.S. Capitol building. So they have all these beautiful pavilions set up, which I don't know how they're going to get all that constructed in a few months, but good luck with that one. But they've got it, going from June 25th to July 10th. And I don't know if anybody drives around Washington, D.C. that often, but, you want to go there and see the kind of traffic jams that can happen during something like that, God bless you. This is just summarizing some of the good things about our country. So again, hopefully inspirational materials. Everybody's focused on saying, you can't do things perfectly, but hopefully you aspire towards a higher goal. And the Declaration of Independence was hopefully that aspirational goal that, we certainly had to keep working on up till this very day and beyond. And then, they've got different things, but you can go on the freedom250.org website, and they've got 14 patriotic ways to celebrate, and they even have all these videos. I think it was Hillsdale College, PragerU, and one other entity that at least worked to put together some of these, but they've got it sort of on the history of America and then on some of the founding fathers. And so it's quite impressive what all you can find once you get on the Freedom 250 website. They have a faith event coming up in May. So again, try to cover a whole gamut of things that might help people see the value of taking a little bit of time and trying to inspire towards higher goals and aspirations and passing on to the next generation. But hopefully faith is something that unites us all. We need hope and faith. And then, I don't know if you've heard of the Freedom Trucks, but already, for those who don't know, They've visited Granger, Indiana, which is between Elkhart and South Bend, and they've been to Winchester, Indiana, so I don't know if anybody got up to Winchester. But, you know, they still have Kokomo planned coming up here in May, and then they're gonna be at the Indianapolis 500, May 20th to 25th, in University of Cincinnati. And these are big, huge semi-trucks, and they expand out on both sides, so they've got quite a display that's put together. It's about as much as you could imagine trying to fit on a big semi-trailer, and make it, you know, all fit together and still be mobile. You know, for one, I think they have 6 of these trucks going around. I know they also have the jet, which is only, I think right now is only scheduled to have the jet go to like 6 to 8 different places, but that's actually carrying like copies of the Dunlap broadside of the Declaration of Independence. So they have rare National Archive stuff on the big plane that's flying around the country. But so far, Indiana, I don't know if we're getting a big jet to visit, but at least we're getting the Freedom Truck. Nobody's stopping me. I'll keep going. If I hit the right button, there we go. And Lord knows, for, you know, maybe the spirit of the Indianapolis 500 going nationally, but they're going to have the Indy cars race around Washington D.C. sometime, and I think it's in the fall, because, you know, there's going to be enough going on until you get past July that I think they realize that, yeah, if we're doing this in Washington D.C., it's going to be a little quieter come October, November, so I don't know if they've actually set a date. But if anybody's a gearhead / car enthusiast, at least there's that opportunity. But we just need to go down to Indianapolis and enjoy the 500. So I've always, one thing she didn't mention other than my Star Trek heritage, you know, I was born one day after Star Trek began, September 8th, you know, 1968. And I had like a close friend I went through medical school who was born on September 8th, and I was always jealous of that. But I've always had an interest in maritime history, and some of that's because I used to build clipper ships, which, you know, I always had great eye-hand coordination, and trying to do the fine rigging on a model ship is not easy, but boy, prepared me for surgery quite well. Back when I was finishing high school, you know, they had the tall ships come in the harbor in 1976 at the last bicentennial celebration, and my mom actually got me a nice poster. You know, it's actually a fine print and framed and everything, so things probably worth at least a few $100s now. So that was always something I wanted to see, is the tall ships. And I'm fortunate because my wife's from England. I've been able to go over to the National Maritime Museum, see the Cuddy Sark, because that's one of my ship models I built. But I love sailing ships and all the history goes with it. So these ships are coming, and I'm going to head to Norfolk to catch them when they come in June. So this is one of the key places where all the ships are coming in the harbor. And, you know, they have like, I think 8 different places that some of the ships are going to. You know, I think they try to get up river clear like almost to Richmond, which is pretty amazing, up the James River. So I assume some of these ships might have enough, you know, below water exposure. They have to only send the lighter ships and on a calm day, but at least they're trying to make this happen. So that's my coverage of the national stuff, and then this gets into Indiana specific odds and ends. And you can tell me to stop at some point, but I'll keep going. And this was the original. We're just glad to have an opportunity to get started. You know, fortunately, the national organization, if you were willing to sign up as one of their affiliated state commissions, they'd give you $10,000 seed money so you could form your 501c3 and really at least get running at some level as a state organization. So we got that first 10,000, but this was our next 125 that we got in the first budget cycle that we were up and running under. And at that point, we were under the Indiana Department of Veterans Affairs, and you know, working with the Indiana state government, I can give you all sorts of stories. You know, because I'm a past president of the State Medical Association. I did a lot of lobbying, but we always had like a professional lobbyist that really got down in the dirt, and as physicians, we just had to go there and say, yeah, this is what we want done, and then the lobbyists would take care of the rest. But, you know, run your own commission, you have to get down in the dirt, it gets interesting. Fortunately, on our commission, we've had 2 state senators and 2 state representatives who've done a lot of great work for us, and at least helped us work through some interesting predicaments. But I don't think I have the figures, but once we came around to the last budget cycle, which was July 1st, 2025 through June 30th, 2027, which, you know, we're supposed to officially end December 31st, 2026. So they have money coming in that when we're no longer in existence next year, that doesn't make a whole lot of sense. So, and then for some reason, because of the change in who our governor is, some senator decided to take us out from the Department of Veterans Affairs, who we've gotten to know and had a good working relationship. And now we're under the Indiana Department of Natural Resources. And we think that's sort of due to different things, but there's a power center down there in southwestern Indiana that Governor Braun's very familiar with, and the people that were under him sort of like the Department of Natural Resources a little more than who knows. So anyways, we had to switch who we were working with, and that made someone interesting. And then this is just sort of the basics, our mission and vision. But if you go on our website, you can get all this, and hopefully by now you got this memorized. in.gov/USA250. And this is sort of our organizational structure. I learned how to do that on PowerPoint. It was a learning experience, but you too can make a nice organizational flow chart on PowerPoint. But we set up basically 6 committees, and not knowing where we'd be, you know, you think big, and at least this sort of laid out as clear as possible how we're going to interact. Because it was sort of out of the left ballpark, I never did change that. Go back one here if I can. The Department of Veterans Affairs is now the Department of Natural Resources. So that's one thing that has changed. And then this is our website front page. And, you know, we've done different things. We've sent out nice packets with different PR materials to 100 top businesses and 100 state chamber of commerce entities, and trying to at least see what the spirit of trying to really put together some funding and do some bigger things is. And I'd say in Indiana, it seems like we have some silos and trying to at least run a state commission and say this company is going to put money into something that comes out of the state government versus I'm going to donate to some local groups that I think I know real well and will at least do something of importance with the funding I can provide. You know, it's interesting, but the good thing, which I think I have a picture coming up, is we did sell license plates, and both in the pamphlet, which this is a picture of, which, you know, this was our biggest effort to date to really put together something that tried to at least say who we are, you know, list all our members, some of the things we've accomplished, like we gave an honorary membership to this gentleman's directly descended from the Pullman family, who took the lantern up in North Church in Boston and got Paul Revere on the way, and the whole works. And so to at least say, boy, we've done some good things, but to at least get everybody down there in the General Assembly aware, you sort of have to come up with materials like this. And, you know, they did not provide us enough funds to pay a marketing firm for unlimited. so I'd say, I think I spent 2 months designing that thing. I do get some good input, but yeah, at least I know computers pretty well, and it comes in handy. And then this is just our donation pages. So I'd say at this point, you know, if you know some business that just wants to do something incredible to support this cause, you can go to our website. But, you know, we really worked hard, and that was a 3-month effort on my part to get this all computer linked and set up so you can use the credit card and the whole works. We've got donation levels and the whole 9 yards. So I'd just say efforts I've made, I've never built a full donation website from the ground up. So it was at least fun. And then here's our license plate. And the good news is we should be real close to 92,000 by July. And so that's how we finally committed to at least providing up to $1,000 grant to each county committee that's out there in the state of Indiana, because the official legislative bill that was passed for the license plate pretty much said that as long as you stay within the confines of how you were originally designed as a state commission, you can use the money that comes in from the license plate. We get $20 per license plate. However you see, you know, fits the general reasons why you're in existence, and so you can pretty much do a minimal grant form with just some basic we have 2 pages in our agreement, and it's basically saying as a IRS approved 501c3, you can't force us to do anything that would violate our 501c3, approval. So we've got to at least put some legal verbiage there. And from there, we're working on dividing the state. I think it's now 10 regions. So this changed since last time Charlotte heard Blair's coordinating all that. So if anybody's DAR affiliated, you may be more aware of what the game is at this point than I am. But sometime soon, we're actually meeting tomorrow in Indianapolis. So I assume I'll get some more specifics. And we're actually meeting monthly as a commission just to try to keep all this stuff moving along now. But to at least say that you get a lanyard, which is classic for the late 18th century, or at least last quarter of the 18th century, and you take that from county to county. If you've got 92 counties, you divide it by 10, you got 9 to 10 counties, you're going to move that lanyard around, and basically that's hopefully going to focus the PR effort on one given item for this week and another given item for that week. That's at least, back for the bicentennial, if anybody remembers that far back, 2016, they did a torch, and Purdue actually did the engineering on those torches there in the Indiana War Memorial on display. But, to try to have people run, and even though that's good, public fitness and all that, this way it's more, I guess, period appropriate to have. I think you ran around the whole state with just a couple torches. In this way, we're divided up into 10 areas, and hopefully that way people know each other a little better if you're 10 counties right together in this part of the state. And so at least that's what we finally decided on. And then this is just like a quick overview of some of what's taking place in Indiana. Some you may know, some you may not. And down at the Lilly Library, they have the rare sort of book and manuscript exhibit up on the 5th floor, but they're doing a display. We actually had a special meeting in January where we got to see their whole collection, and the Lilly family, and I forget which descendant from Colonel Lilly it was, but they invested highly in some rare items, and so only 3 copies of the Dunlap broadsides of the Declaration of Independence are west of the Appalachian Mountains. We have one of them in Bloomington at the Lilly Library. There's one in Chicago, and then there's one at the Dallas Library down in Texas. But when you start going through this, boy, they have like an original copy of Common Sense. They have the Articles of Confederation. They have the Olive Petition. They have letters from Abigail Adams and George Washington. The collection is pretty impressive, and they just have a small portion of what all they have in storage out there. But it's worth a trip down to Bloomington if you've never been that way. And then I have on here. This is sort of 2 key resource sites. One is to see what they're doing down around Bloomington, and so that's that first website here. And then this is a nice site that I just picked up on somewhere between yesterday when I started working on updating this and this morning. And basically this really has listings of a lot of different sources through the library system that I wasn't aware of. So if you go to that one site, it's almost like another way to trace a whole lot of organizations that have a whole lot of interesting information available for the 250th. This is their symbol for the Bloomington campus for America 250. And then, have anybody here heard of the Remnant Trust? But that's something I wasn't aware of coming from Delaware County and being from northeastern Indiana originally. So once I spent 4 years in medical school down there, but I wasn't really spending much time on history at that point. But attorney basically started collecting rare books and manuscripts clear back in the 70s, and that was sort of before the prices got unrealistic for some of these things. But what he ended up collecting was just incredible, and now they sort of the sort of home place for the overall collection is the Columbia Club on the Circle, familiar with downtown Indianapolis. But then they worked out a deal for just storage purposes to have the Indiana Historical Society take a good part of what they don't keep at the Columbia Club and have it available over at the Indiana Historical Society. So they've got just an incredible collection, 1,600 manuscripts, books, pamphlets, and I highly encourage you. They've got I think I've got it, probably next slide, but a catalog, I think they call it like the Athenian catalog, Wisdom of the Ages, but it actually gives you everything they have available. It's just incredible what he collected. And so, you know, they have all these original copies. The thing about the Remnant Trust is that, you know, there's been different discussions over time whether you should use ungloved hands to touch rare textbooks, but there's been enough, at least feedback, that says you're probably not doing that much damage. The cotton from gloves apparently has a certain amount of likelihood of causing some abrasion and this and that. So because I've been around their exhibit, I've held their, I think it's a 1350 version of the Magna Carta, and turn the pages, and you know, that's better I can do over in England when I go to the British Library, I'll tell you. And then they have, like the first session of the U.S. Senate where they passed the Bill of Rights, so they had that from, you know, something like 1790, and just, you know, incredible opportunity to see. And I think it was, I know there was at least 12 amendments. There might have been up to 17 that they originally proposed that led to the 10 amendments that were the Bill of Rights. But, you know, it's just interesting to see how it actually took place because it was all recorded if you got the book. And then this is that 1350 Magna Carta manuscript. And I've got their like contact information there for their Columbia Club. And then down the last few slides, depending on, but this is the actual grant request form, which now for each county's commission, and I don't know what Henry County has put together, but the goal from the get-go was, can you put all on one side, one page? And so we worked so hard to get it to where, you know, we could at least make it pass muster, but we do say here, and we limited it to 3 pages, that if there's some additional documentation of how you want to spend the money you want to spend, up to 1,000, you know, you can add on some pages there, but we said no more than 3. Then we actually had a lady from the Indiana Historical Societies on the commission. You know, technically the president, Jody Blankenship, is on the commission, but just because everybody stays busy, we'll get different folks filling in for different entities when we meet as a commission. But she sort of said, well, we did one of these and we were getting 50 pages of documentation, and at some point you either can concisely put out why you want to spend the money for this and limit it to 3 pages we thought was reasonable. And then we're at least letting you go retrograde back to January 1st if you already made some commitments to items that cost some money and you think that was a rational thing for America 250. As long as you got some receipts to verify it, because we at least have to look like we keep our financial house in order, you know, let us know and we can most likely get you covered for things you spent now 4 months ago. And then this is the agreement form. And our secretary on the commission, he works in the Department of Revenue, and he's like fully approved to testify before the U.S. Supreme Court. But he's very knowledgeable. He's also a Civil War reenactor, so he does all sorts of interesting things. But he said this is the minimum legal schmigel you got to have. So we got it down to just a little over 1 page of print, and then the signatures for both the co-chairs and each given county. And then finally, you know, I've just got this nice map with the different counties and the county seats. And these last slides, I could have picked any place, but I grew up till age 9 in Fort Wayne, so I sort of know what Fort Wayne's up to. My role in the SAR and 3rd District Vice President, so I go up to their meetings on a routine basis. But they're just history. I'll give you one little pearl, is my mom was raised by her aunt who lived right on St. Mary's River in Fort Wayne. And it wasn't until probably like 5 years ago I realized that's where the first French trading post was in 1697 in Fort Wayne. So I grew up right where the French came and started setting up business with the Indians, Miamis. And it wasn't, I think, till 1722 they built the first French fort. But at least, you know, if you want to know the real history of Fort Wayne, it's where that French fur post was, because that predates Vincennes, and says a lot of things about a lot of things. But Fort Wayne was there in the 1600s. And they have this nice, you know, memorial they've put together. They updated, I guess, in 2024, getting ready for the 250th. And I snuck in here, the Mary Penrose chapter. They actually have a nice little tour with all the background information of everything historical. I think it's like 20 key places in Fort Wayne that you should know about if you're into history. And so you can go on that tour based on that And then, if anybody's not aware of the Johnny Appleseed Festival, you have failed. But growing up in Fort Wayne, to know Johnny Appleseed was buried there, as far as we know. And to go to the Appleseed Festival is always a big thing. I'm probably going with I have 2 grandsons now, and so I'm probably taking the youngest grandson, who technically lives in Indianapolis, up to Johnny Appleseed this fall. My other grandson's in Texas, and it's hard to get him to come up just for the Johnny Appleseed. Then this is the other, I would say, hands down historical place in Indiana, so I'll give them some credit, but the largest Midwest Revolutionary War period reenactment is the Spirit of Vincennes, so that's coming up on May 23rd and 24th. And so, that's a national event for the Sons of the American Revolution. So we have the president come in, and it's a big deal. And if you've never attended that, they have 2 days, Saturday and Sunday, where basically they get anybody that's into that time period, and they have all sorts of period-specific activities and different exhibits and odds and ends. So it's well worth driving clear down to that part of the state you may have never seen if you're from northeastern Indiana, but a lot of good history in the George Rogers Clark National Monument. To walk in there and see George Rogers statue in the center, that's just so well done. That was put together by under FDR, I think 1936, when they constructed that. And then I'm sort of signing off here. I may have one more slide after this, but just for everybody that's contributing to each community and trying to do something, a meeting to pass some of this on to the next generation. God bless you all, because we need to do that as a society. But you just realize the more you study the history that we had the right people in the right places, and they were willing to risk their duty, lives, and honor to put it all on the line to tell that wild British monarch that no longer will we put up with this stuff. And so, but appreciate you having me, and let me know if you have questions. I do on my handout, which I never got it into a JPEG form, but depending on whether Kate can help me here. I have, let me see here, but it's no, I have to do it off there. But it's basically, here we go. It's an Indiana reference list, but I have on there. Usually most people are familiar with the Battle of Mississinawa and Mississinawa 1812 reenactment. But then there's the Feast of the Hunter's Moon, and that's, I guess, sort of southwest of Lafayette. And so I've got the dates on all that. And so besides, the Spirit of Vincennes and Johnny Appleseed, if you're from Indiana, the largest War of 1812 reenactment in the country is the 1812 Mississinawa. And then, the Feast of the Hunter's Moon is just an incredible gathering, and again emphasizes some of the French influence. So you ought to make it over there towards Lafayette one of these days. And they all have long histories associated with them. But I've got a lot of other good reference sources on that sheet if you can copy that off. So sounds good. You're welcome. And I do have, we pass this around. This is the original when we went through the second budget cycle, but this is what you do in the state of Indiana to try to get your General Assembly's attention. But this was like 3 days of running my printer. That's why I couldn't print that reference list today, because my printer got burnt out printing out all these. But I printed up like 20 copies of 50 plus pages, so at least you can give it to the head of the Appropriations Committee in the Senate and the House Ways and Means Committee. But that's how we at least try to let them know we've been working real hard. And at the time they were saying, we're going to just take over and switch you over to the Department of Natural Resources, and you have no clue what you've been up to. So.
Thank you for your enthusiasm for this
You're
project
welcome.
and the time you put into it.
No problem.
And if anyone wants to see one of the America 250 license plates, go look at the little blue Ford Escape out back, the old one. I have a brand new license plate.
Actually, if you could put up with Indiana National Championship stickers, I have my license plate also on my car out there.
Did they win something?
Yeah.
So, now, refreshments are ready.
Too much time.
Yes, please, help yourself to refreshments. If you have any questions for Dr. Whiteman?
Yeah, I'll stick around here for a period of time.
Yeah, thank you all for coming out on this beautiful afternoon, giving us your time. And again, Dr. Whiteman, great presentation. and
Appreciate it.
Appreciate what you've done very, very much.
It's been an interesting thing. I mean, to me, when you at least think you know a state and how its government runs, I just say, I'm not a young whippersnapper. I spent, it's usually a 25-year trip to go from just a local representative of the State Medical Society up to president. So I spent a lot of years trying to get to understand it. I was a busy physician, but these last 5 years, it's been a journey, and I can tell you things about Indiana government. There's a lot of good people, there's a lot of good intent, but getting them to accomplish goals.
So, Tom, if you wanna go help yourself to
Okay.
refreshments.
Sounds good. I also have a pamphlet from Allen County, since I sort of know those folks up there, and this is, and Charlotte heard Blair, technically, because she's from Whitley County, spends a lot of time with them. I think she's on their commission, but this is sort of one of the pamphlets they have, and circulate that around, what they're up to. But on my reference sheet, I can have more available from Allen County.
Okay, thanks. Yep, I'm gonna download that on my.
Refreshments
Go that way.
to
This way.
the east.
Oh, Dr. Whiteman, I enjoyed your presentation. Can I get one of the pamphlets?
Yes.
I'm the secretary. I need all the information I can to write that down in our annual meeting.
No problem. My pleasure. Thanks for coming.
You're welcome.
Hopefully you enjoyed it.
Oh, wonderful, man. Wonderful.
I do have business cards in case anybody really needs to get a hold of me. Good to see you again.
Refreshments, help yourself.
Committed group of historic area people. We did a Liberty Tree dedication in Alexandria, Dooley Park, and Steve Jackson, who's been Madison County's historian for years and years. To me, I don't know if you have different people contribute over the years, but it's just like, you keep your mind working, and all my history is very sign up and it's like, oh my God, I got to at least plan this financially. Then you get captured up organization. It's like, well, I guess I spent 500. Do you have any questions, sir? No, that was actually the council. Okay, then, so Fort Wayne, grew up there until age 9. There's a nice. I can't remember the author. Look it up at that rifle party somewhere from that point. And then I don't think they have any artists, paintings of little turtles.
Oh my God.
Sitting over there.
We're in a given neighborhood between a couple houses, so they basically decided not to build one house for officially interred and make that nice memorial. After moving away around Fort Wayne, you realize where he's buried.
Yeah.
Yeah, placing it. And then most people know that's corn. I think if you squint real hard, you don't. I leave about 4:30. Try to get all done. Oh, I do. I get off working on it. That's what you make out. You can sleep. 9 o'clock. Very good. No problem. Just see.
Someplace that did that all the time. Yeah, we took it at the church last year. We took it at Greece. No, there was because we were what was we would travel during the sweater. Get off the go. Oh wow. And then you see it was very experience. It was 3 weeks. But this was one day I got I realized that.
Yeah, that's, to me, because I just done this now,
I
It's still the same, but, I got John Adams.
yeah. Somebody's thinking, huh? They say big cruise ships, you don't feel as much. We had outside your I know. I'm not a sailor. Good to see you.
Mine was at 8. It was getting so old and they went, it didn't take the updates. Called stations.
Do a little yard work.
Maryland,
You know, my son, Scott.
Maryland Whitman had a Facebook picture. It's like when people die, it's probably well, I brought out of downsize the deal with it, so you don't do that. My cousin's now coming over to Cleveland. I gave her a whole bunch of special baskets, Burger. Yeah, that was so cool. Because I wasn't using them. I got some that I was using. That I've been using now, but I get some people who don't. It's been fun. We don't have one stuff. If you're looking for something, so when I went up there, I started working, you know,
I like the dark.
and all their little burger boots. I'm still yakking, but I'll be good. Yeah.
Anything else?